about a month ago now, I finished my exams, and obviously this meant I didn't have to go into school anymore, and I had the whole day to myself. And while I continued to do common practices like scripting and recording these YouTube videos, the fact was, for the majority of the day, when I wasn't implementing the good daily habits like working out and meditating that I normally kind of do, I essentially had nothing to do for the majority of my day. I was essentially bored. And is this boredom that I experienced a good thing or a bad thing? And is it essentially okay to be bored? Is it essentially like good to have nothing to do during the like parts of your day? Because the fact is, when you are bored, it means you're not wasting time distracting yourself from your natural default thought process. When you are bored, you're kind of exposed to your conscious thoughts instead of like distracting yourself by doing things like playing video games, scrolling on social media, and like binge watching Netflix shows and stuff like that for like hours on end for like the whole day. Because when you are bored, you're basically, when you're bored, all you kind of do is think. That is the one activity you do when you're bored, because you're kind of sitting there on your chair or laying on your bed or whatever with nothing to do, and you're just thinking and exposed to your own conscious thought process. And for the other like majority of the time, you're actually doing things that are productive. Because many people don't get bored for the majority of the time because they kind of busy themselves with either like actual work or like things that conventionally sort of waste time. The activities I said before, like video games, social media scrolling, and binge watching Netflix shows, these like are implemented into people's lives so that they kind of feel busy, so that they feel like they're doing things for the whole day. And even if they do like the normal kind of conventional work, they try to make it so that they're doing things for the entire day, so they don't really have time to reflect and time to think. They try to kind of be as busy as possible and to fill their day up with as many things as they can possibly think of. And this may not be so kind of beneficial to you, because it might be beneficial for you to take a step back to reflect, to see what things you're doing that may just like be in your daily implementation of like your habits, just so that you're not kind of exposed to being bored and stuff. Because obviously, as I've said, boredom is something that may be more than okay and is definitely something that is actually beneficial to you, like to improve like your thinking and just your general thought process and stuff like that. Because yeah, it's very okay, because when you're bored, it shows progress in like things like your dopamine detoxes and stuff like that. When you're bored, it shows that you're not, while you may also be doing like productive things to do with your job or your business or whatever, the rest of the time, if you're bored, it means that you're not wasting it on activities that distract you from your conscious thought process, like playing video games, like binge watching Netflix shows for hours and hours on end, like scrolling on social media. When you're not doing these things, you're exposed to your conscious thought process, and if you are bored, it shows your progress in the fact that you've kind of like weaned off these kind of bad habits that stop your normal conscious thought process, and even good habits in a way can stop your normal thought process. When you're going to the gym, you're not kind of thinking far away about like something completely different, because that would be unmindful of you. But if you're like, your good habits probably don't take up all of your day, but usually people do bad habits in their life, like binge watching Netflix shows, playing video games, basically until they go to bed, so that they can not think too often about like other aspects of their life and reflect on other aspects of their life. And so if you are currently going through this boredom, or like this experience of being quite bored, just know that it's showing progress in like your self-improvement journey, because you're not distracting yourself with things that you may have previously tried to distract yourself with, like during your daily life. And what if it was more than okay to be bored? What if it was actually a beneficial thing, and potentially something that you could actually implement as like a one-off thing in your daily life, almost like a habit? Because being bored sort of activates different parts of your brain to kind of get out of the boredom. Your brain naturally doesn't want to be bored, and I know that means that you might cope and say that like social media, um, Netflix shows, and like video games and stuff like that are a good thing. The fact is, your brain doesn't want to be bored, but that's a good thing, because when your brain doesn't want to be bored, that means that it like activates certain parts of your brain, like creative thinking parts of your brain, problem solving parts of your brain, decision making parts of your brain, to make decisions, find other things to do, like creatively and like problem solving, and like it activates those parts of the brain. And when every time you're kind of bored, and then you figure out like a different sort of purpose of your life to do for like another 4 or so hours of your day tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. When your brain does those kind of things, it like strengthens your brain. It's like a bicep curl for the brain, because you've creatively kind of pulled something out of your subconscious, out of your conscious, and now you're going to kind of start to do it. And you've literally creatively, almost impulsively thought up just another kind of purpose to do for your like other 4 hours, for like your tomorrows and the days afterwards and stuff like that, because your brain doesn't want to be bored. And now for the days upcoming, it won't be bored, because you filled the rest of your time with a better kind of purpose that's actually beneficial to you. And the process of thinking and developing that purpose strengthens your brain like in so many ways imaginable. So I hope you found value out in this video. I hope if you are currently like quite bored in life, understand that's a good thing, and that means that you're not constantly distracting yourself from your conscious thought process. And maybe if being bored is actually a beneficial thing to you, and if it's not something you currently experience a lot, maybe it's worth like trying that out in your daily habits. Because if you remember when you were a child, right, I'm going to go on a quick kind of tangent here, you were bored all the time because you weren't exposed to like video games and stuff like that. You would always go to your parents and say like, oh, I'm really bored, what's there to do? And your childlike brain would kind of creatively problem solve in a weird sort of way to think of something to do, whether it's good or bad. And that creative problem solving strengthens your brain in so many ways, and you probably haven't been bored for a while, and therefore your brain hasn't been strengthened in that kind of way for like a long time. And so maybe, as I said, that's something that's something that's worth doing and implementing into your daily life just for the future. So with that, I recommend subscribing, because I like this community of young tribal people who are willing to improve themselves so much more than they already have. And good luck.